So when you have a choir in front of you, I'm a conductor as well as a composer, so I get lots of vibes from the choir about certain sorts of music, and sometimes parts can be very boring. And I used to sing alto, and I became a soprano, or realised perhaps that I was a soprano, and sometimes alto parts, I have to say, are so deadly boring. They're there in one or two notes, and oh my goodness, how do you sound inspired when you're singing that? And I really believe that the duty of a choral composer is to be fair and even-handed and to give equality to all the parts and make sure that everybody has sufficient interest, because there's nothing worse than, for example, supposing you have a piece of music on a pedal. It's very good to write a piece of music on a pedal point, but if your basses, your second basses are stuck on a low E for the entire piece, and I have seen several pieces like that, I mean, how does the conductor face them afterwards and, you know, smile and say, did you enjoy that? You know, because yes, they will have perhaps enjoyed supporting all the interest in the other parts, but not singing it perhaps. I think you have to realise that every part needs their time in the limelight, and they need some of the musical argument, some of the musical interest, and that can happen in lots of different ways. If you have a melodic approach, you can just give them a bit of the melody. Why not? The melody can just as easily be in the bass with the other parts accompanying at the top. Or you can mark their part louder so at least you can hear it amid a kind of chordal texture. Another way, obviously, is to use polyphony and counterpoint so that everybody gets a fair share of the interest. So that would cover imitative entries, as in so much Renaissance choral music. That would cover canons, canons by the octave. I mean, there's that wonderful canon in Haydn's Nelson Mass, where in the Credo, where the altos and basses copy the sopranos and tenors, and they're both in octaves, and it's just in two parts, and it's just so wonderfully written. And also, a very pragmatic point perhaps, but it does save on rehearsal time, because you can learn the piece all together and then you sing it again in canon, and it's a new piece, but you haven't taken much more rehearsal time. That's just a small point really. But from a compositional point of view, it builds excitement, and then you might have each part could be take the melody and the other parts could accompany, and when they're accompanying they could do something very static. They might just take the vowels from the words that are being sung in the lead part and just make a very calm backwash, you know, shifting harmonies if where necessary. Or they could do something aleatoric, so they might take a little idea which sparks over, and all the choir members could be doing that in their own time, and that would make a wonderful pointillist sort of accompaniment to something more linear in one of the parts. And each way they're all getting the interest, but it's quite clear that the ears of the listener are guided towards one particular part. You can do that with words where you cut the words up, and the words are no longer real words, so you'd have syllables flashing, another very sort of sparky sort of effect. Then you can have the upper voices answering the lower voices. So something like, well, Stanford's Beati Quorum, where you start with a little trio at the top and then you have the men answering. It's all over the place. And then you have to work out, are you going to unite them at some point? And yes, you probably are. And when is the moment to do that for maximum effect? Always bear in mind, the singer has to have a line that's fundamentally worth singing.